também. Hello everyone on YouTube. Welcome to my channel, and I'm very excited to be here today. And we have a very special guest today. His name is Vincent Kripica, and he goes by Vico. So here today we will be talking about digital entrepreneurship, and he will be explaining why he decided to be a digital entrepreneur instead of taking the traditional path of a 9-to-5 job. So just as a quick introduction, my name is Lohana Capanema. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back as always. And we both actually studied at the University of Toronto, and we both decided to go towards a similar path in terms of career, but it's more in terms of us being free from a regular corporation or institution. So that's very interesting to see how those two things align with each other. And if you have never watched it before my channel, I talk a lot about this topic, but I also specify the company that I work with, and also I tell a little bit more about the company and about network marketing. So please check out the previous live so you can understand more our context, where we are speaking from. So it's very interesting. And we are actually both Brazilian as well, and we both live in Toronto in Canada for a few years now. So we have a lot of similarities, and that's why I decided to invite him today. And I'd like him to introduce himself, please.
Hi, thank you very much for inviting me. Yeah, so as Lohana said, I moved to Canada about 4 years ago, and I studied at University of Toronto with her. And so basically, when you go to school here, you're expected to get a job and to work at a 9-to-5 traditional job. But the problem is that I feel that some people are not very happy with bureaucracy, with following a corporation rule, or even working for other people, right? Some people just have the spirit that they want to do something for themselves, that they want to work harder on something that is for themselves, right? So you build something that's yours and not something for someone else. So you have some advantages of having a job. You don't have a lot of risks. You don't have so many problems. But if you work for yourself, you feel more fulfilled, right? You're always working towards something that's for you. And it gives you the motivation to work harder and to feel like you're doing something that you kind of profit from, not only in money, but also in happiness, right? So when we graduated, we both kind of started taking this path towards finding something that you can do for yourself that doesn't require an investment, such as a business. I actually thought about working in a business, about starting a business, but because of COVID, it didn't work. So I realized that I wanted to do something that's different from just getting a regular job, because some people just can't stand working at a regular job, right? So I created a YouTube channel. If you guys want to check, the name is Vico, Vico. It's in Portuguese, so I'm sorry for those who only speak English. But if you still want to check it out, it's there. If you want to subscribe to help, it's there. And I talk about something that I studied in school a lot. It's a different field. The name is social engineering, and it's about, in a short way, it's basically how we work and we function in a way that is not the way we are, because we're influenced by other people. And it goes beyond simple manipulation. It goes beyond simple influence, because you need to have a plan. So it's basically how sometimes there's a plan that makes us do something that we don't want to do, and we end up doing that. And I talk a lot about this there and about other topics. And that's been pretty much my life now, to work in the digital world and meet more people.
Yes, for sure, Vico. And I would like to ask you, how do you feel about the possibility of deciding when and where or with who to work with? Like, for example, if it's Monday and you want to go out with friends, like we did once, How does that feel and how important that is for you?
That's very important for me, and I think that there are upsides and downsides to everything, right? So there's always going to be something that's good and something that's bad. So I feel that when you work on something for yourself, you work harder because you're always telling yourself that you have to work and that you have to do more stuff because after all, it's for you, right? So if you leave your job and you want to go out with friends, you're not going to be thinking, oh my God, I need to work because my boss wants this. You can think that, but you're probably not going to be as annoyed or as pressured to do something for a boss as you would do for yourself. But then the good thing about working in the digital world is that you can take whenever you want. So if you want to do something on Wednesday during the day, you can just plan ahead and do what you had to do on Wednesday, and you don't have to show up for work. You can just leave that day off for you to do whatever you want. And plus, you can be wherever you want. So one of the big things that made me not get a regular job is that I don't want to be stuck at one place. In the future, I don't want to live in a big city. And I think it's really hard for someone to be stuck in a big city, in a capital, just because you have a job there. And if you start building a career, you get kind of stuck there. There's nothing that you can do. You're not going to quit your job and just live off of nothing in the countryside or at another place that you want to live. And that's something that I don't want to be tied to a specific place just because of a position. And and I think that when you go to the digital world, you have this thing that you can work whatever you want. So if I want to go spend the weekend in Italy, I can still record from my hotel, and I can still make videos. For example, in my case, I can still make videos in a museum. I can still go and explore topics that are related in the city, and you can always find a way to work if you have something to do. And that's not the case with a regular job. You have to be there. You have to show up every week.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I found out that if I wanted to go back home and visit my family, which is in Brazil, I would only have 2 weeks maximum. And can you imagine you go so far away, you take the flight, it takes forever, then you come back, you already lost 2 days. So basically, you just have pretty much 10 days off in the whole year, and you have 10 days to visit your family. And if you want to go somewhere else for a vacation, you need to, like, you will not go to your own country. So, for example, in my case, I would spend 2 weeks in Brazil, but what about if I wanted to go to Europe and get to travel around as well? Then I would have to decide between visiting my family or also like meeting new people or visiting new places, new countries. So that also really restricts your opportunities as well. As Vico said, for example, he can go travel around, but he can still work. He can still record his YouTube videos. And in my case, I also can always record lives and I can still run my business because everything is online based and we can do it from anywhere. The only thing is that we need a Wi-Fi and
A
a
camera.
camera. Yes, and a camera. So it's not that many things that we require, and we do not need to like fulfill expectation of others in the sense of a boss, or you don't have deadlines that someone sets for you. You are the one that sets your deadline. Even if you actually want to be on vacation, you can decide if I can decide if next week I will take off or not. So it's really
Hmm.
up to you. But I know that I have so much demand, so much work to do that
And
because of my
I also think that one
sense.
of the most important things
Uh huh.
now is that, and sorry to interrupt you, but it
No,
just came
that's
to my
okay.
mind and I didn't want to forget that.
That's okay.
Um, I think that one of the most important things now is that we've been seeing that we're living in a kind of crazy world, right? So one day everything's good, one day everything closes, and you don't know if you still have your job. So you've worked your entire life in a job to find out that you're fired because the company is closing, because something's happening. And when you get into the digital world, you find a safer way of making money. Because, for example, I know that I'm different from you and from people that work for you, not for you, but with you, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I know that, for example, for me, I have the YouTube channel. I'm creating an English course for beginners. I'm writing a book, and all of that is going to complement, and it's going to be an extra income coming from different places. And people who work at companies, they also have other ways of making money. You know, like you find contacts, you find people. So if something happens, you have a plan B. You have something else to do because you already have the connections. You already have everyone that you need there. And this is something that you don't get at a regular job. If the company closes, everyone goes down. But if you have the online, all the online platform, take Celia for example. Celia was one that started in the company, but she already had her people. You know, she already knew, so she started very high up already because she knew other people. It's not like she was starting from zero. So if you work online, you have everyone that you need, so that in case something goes wrong, you have a plan B. You have something else to do because you have the entire network there for you. So this is somehow an insurance, you know. Let's say that the company closes, something happens, the company closes. You get to another one, and you're gonna already have the entire people to be there for you. And if you don't do that, you can start another entrepreneurial venture, you know. And this is different from being unemployed, home doing nothing, looking for a job. Another thing, a lot of people want to leave the cities. I know from personal experience, I want to do that, but I also know that a lot of people want to leave big cities because they don't find it safe anymore. You know, you have a crisis, you don't know about supermarkets, you don't know what's going to be open, what's going to be closed, you know how people are going to be. So they want to have their own life in the countryside. And how are you going to do that if you have a job? You can't commute 3 hours every day, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And this business online is something that you have to work, and you have other people around you, and you have connections, and you travel for business, but you
Mm-hmm.
can still live wherever you want. You can still stay in the countryside, or you can live in a big city. It's not a problem to live in a big city. But if you want to have the option to live, let's say, in the countryside of Brazil, in the middle of nowhere, where you just have a little bit of internet and a camera, you can do that. But you can't work for a company there.
Exactly. No, that was a great point because like we were talking about stability. So a job, a regular job is not stable. Even if you have like it's kind of like a pointed position, you are like a full time and you are like a permanent. That permanent is not actually
Hmm.
permanent. It's permanent until they need to fire you and cut the cost or to reduce your salary or to reduce your appointment percentage. I know because a lot of people that they thought they were very stable, they had a great career, great job, permanent, and suddenly they lost either completely or they lost 40% of it, 40% of the salary and everything. So you are placing yourself at risk and putting your, it's kind of like your own destiny at someone else's hands, and you are building a foundation, you are building someone else's dream, and you are building the business for someone else that will actually benefit from you, and they will get way more money than you, and then you're just like a somebody there, right? And that way is not yours. So when you we are talking about business and even YouTube and stuff like that, it is really yours and it's your legacy. And especially when you're talking about business, that it is also for your kids, because it's for like it's for the whole life. You will always have it, but you can pass it on up to the third generation. So your children, grandchildren, and great children, yeah, or great grandchildren. So all of those three generations after you can have that legacy, they can have that business. So you are helping them so much. And once you have a job, it's like you can be fired, you likely will, you have a benefits, pension plan, pension plans, but that money is very, very small. It's like nothing. You will be retired, but you will not have that much quality of life, and you think that you have benefits of psychologists or like a doctors or like a massage or whatever, but you are making, let's say, if you're making good money, you are making 100,000 per year. That's it. But if you have a business, you can make sometimes that per month, and that benefits will not matter anymore because the money that you would get for a free massage at first is being detracted of your salary, and that is nothing close to what you can actually be earning. So if you actually have to spend like to pay for your psychologist, but you make so much money that that amount doesn't matter anymore. So it's kind of like an illusion when you think that you have stability and you have so much benefits and you are in your comfort zone and stuff like that, but actually that is not the case. You are really literally selling your soul to a paycheck that can be taken from you at any time, right?
Hmm. And you also have to follow orders, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you have to do stuff that you don't want to.
You don't
Sometimes,
agree to?
yeah. So it really sucks. There's no other word to describe it.
Totally. Yeah, and like, and the funny thing is that once we when we go to university, we are taught, and they try to put this on our mind, that is the best thing ever is to have a career and to find a job. But once, for us, that we are so, I would say we are brilliant, we have an open mind, like we are already one step ahead. For us, being placed into a box where we need to follow orders and stuff like that does not fit our personality, because we know
Hmm.
that we can do so much more than that. And unfortunately, at the universities, colleges, I mean, the educational system, they put this into people's mind to make them want the 9 to 5 job. So of course they will work for big corporations, they will make those companies grow more and more, but for themselves they will have nothing at the end. They don't have a legacy, they just have a very limited paycheck, and that's pretty much about it. And they want people to follow orders. So the more people have an employee mindset, is what I call it, more people are used to follow orders, not to create, not to be creative, not to let themselves shine like a diamond, as I said. So people that are working for someone and not with someone, they cannot grow as much as they would. So their potential is kind of cut off. So even someone that is very smart, bright, and has talent, they are very limited if they work for a company, because they can create their own new road and they can allow others to have that. They can create new opportunities. What do you think about this, Vico?
I think you're right. I think you're completely right. I Another thing that I find kind of depressing of having a job is that nowadays you get a job and you make what you make. There's not much possibility of growing. Like growth comes in 20, 30 years, and until then, you don't
Good
have
luck.
time to have kids. You don't have time to buy a house. You don't have if you have a very good job. Let's say that you graduated university, you get off with a top job, right? And you get like let's say 100,000 a year. Okay, let's say, which is a very good salary
Very
for
good.
Canada.
Yeah,
Okay, how are you gonna buy a house in Toronto? Houses here are about 600,000 at least. You're gonna have to get a loan. Then you get a loan. You're all your life you're paying for that, and you're paying for a car, and you're paying for everything. You don't own anything because you're always working with that limitation of salary there. So all your life is based on a calculation of what you can pay for the rest of your life, and then you retire. And then when you retire, you have nothing else to do because your life's been only dedicated to a company.
exactly. Because basically, you spend your whole life to pay your debt. for
Mm-hmm.
your house or a car if you actually eventually buy a house that if you qualify for a mortgage even, because that is also another concern. And you need to have job security for people to get like a mortgage. Like you need to have that permanent job that is not permanent. So like maybe let's say you have like a mortgage, you have like a fixed loan you have to pay. But what if the coronavirus happens? What if you lose your job and stuff like that? Then how are you gonna pay that? They would take your house away. So your whole life was a lie, was just an illusion of you thinking that that job would fulfill your desire, which is have a house and a car. But is that what life is all about? Just buying a car and a house and that's it? Because a lot of people I see that they work, so when they retire they're gonna enjoy the life. No, life happens now. You don't even know what tomorrow holds for you. You don't know that you will get there even alive when you are retired. You don't know anything, right? And you cannot
Mm-hmm.
base your present moment on a future which is uncertain. You need to live the present moment. That's why Vico and I, we are planning a lot of travels because we are on our 20s. That's the best time that we need to travel and enjoy. It's not when we are 60s. And as he said, you may like earn 100,000 per year, which is a good salary in Canada. And if you think in terms of business or digital entrepreneurship, that is not that much. And maybe you spend 20 years of career to get that 100,000 per year. So wait, you need to work for 20 years, make yourself recognizable, like make people recognize you or make yourself stand out in your field just to get that little amount of money. And I
Mm-hmm.
know so many people that they have like the dream job in Canada. They say they cannot afford a house in Toronto. They
Mm-hmm.
are paying rent and they are like 40s, almost 50s year, almost in their 50s, and they still pay rent. Is that a life that you want? And I don't see how things can get better even, because especially now with the coronavirus, even for business owners, if it's not online, I'm sorry, but it will stay behind and is so much at risk of any a new pandemic or any government decision or anything like that. So it's not the best place to be. So we need to catch up the wave of the digital revolution. We really need to be thinking what is coming for the future. Like, but we need to do this now, not wait until it comes and you realize that you stay behind. So
Mm-hmm.
at least that is
So for
my
example,
thought.
for example, I think the next year we're gonna have a crisis. I studied economics, and from what I see, I feel very heavily that we're gonna have a crisis next year. What are you gonna do if you have a job? You don't have any backup. You don't have you don't even have your house. You don't even have, you don't have anything. Your life is good as of today, but when the hard time comes, you don't have anything. So
Exactly.
I think that the best thing is that you transition into becoming online, If you have a job and you want to still keep your job, do it. But start doing something else as well. Don't just spend your whole life in your job, not even trying something different. Because when you get fired, you didn't work on anything else. And people have to eat, people have to have a roof, right?
Exactly. And can you tell us a little bit about investment or what do you think about it?
I don't recommend investing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I think there's going to be a crisis next year. If you know about something that's very good, a very good opportunity, I'd say do it, but do it until maximum February. Beginning
Mm-hmm.
February, I wouldn't trust anything. From February to September, I think we're gonna have a major crisis next year. So if you wanna do an investment, do a short-term one. Don't do a long-term one because you're probably gonna lose it. I'd bet on that.
Yes, of course. And like the thing is we also don't want to be reliant or dependent on others and
I
also
would say
on
I
the
would say invest
government.
in something. I'd say invest in something for you. Invest in something that you like. Everyone has the
Yes.
potential to make money somehow, you know. I'm investing on the book that I'm writing now.
Yeah,
It's an investment. I have to use money for that. In the
of
YouTube
course.
channel as well. But it's something that in the future is going to be making more money, and it's better than having the risk of investing in a company that might break next year.
Exactly. And for example, for what I talk about here in the channel is like investing in yourself in terms of like a business, and especially that for example a company like mine, you invest is always in products that is for either your own use or to sell it. So that you already get a return right on spot because the investment is physical, is in your hands. So that's pretty cool because you can either use it and look glamorous and look healthier, prettier, and younger, or you can sell everything and you already get your investment back. So you need to really be careful how you invest money. Know you kind of need to know what to expect from it. As Vico says, that we are not sure whether what is happening next year because a lot of people are thinking, oh, the job market will go back to normal and stuff like that. But I think that it will be actually the opposite. Then they will realize how harmful this coronavirus has been to the economy, and the bomb gonna explode next year. So
Yeah,
it's
I think
always
I
better
think
to think ahead.
I think there is a false illusion that things are gonna get better, you know, because we had a crisis this year that there was a downgrade in productivity that's never seen like in this way, you know, just from one day to another, it stops like this. And it's not something that was generated by the economy, it was something external. So that's what I mean when I say that's never been seen, that there's something that's not in the economic market that brings down businesses like this. And it's just like the amount of money that they're spending now. Everyone seems to have money now. Everyone has benefits from the government. Everyone has like something coming in. I don't see anyone struggling. No, I see some people struggling, but most people are not, which is weird, you know, because the productivity is low, and people are living off their lives at the best now. So I don't see how next year you can't have a crisis because it's not sustainable, and everyone has this illusion that everything is gonna go back to normal. But with the amount of money that they took this year, I don't think that's gonna happen.
And I don't think there will never be back to normal because there's a new normal. So also we need to take those kind of things into consideration as well, because thinking that traditional jobs will still be there, maybe they won't, and maybe they will soon be replaced by artificial intelligence. So also need to be very careful when you're choosing a career, if you do, which we are here not recommending.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to be very careful even in term like kind of jobs that we think, oh, only humans can do it, like drive a bus or something. Well, in Dubai and in China they already have buses and stuff that they drive by themselves by artificial intelligence. So we need to be always very careful where we are placing our hope and our vision for the future. And again, not being dependent on others and especially not on governments, because even like Vico and I, like we understand some like precautions from the government, but it's also very important to keep in mind that we need to have our own freedom. So when they say okay, masks are mandatory, well, okay, maybe they are, but I need to remember that if I am in a car by myself, I don't need to be using that. So we need to see how those things are, those rules that we have to obey, they're getting into our psychology, our thoughts, so
And
we
that's
can
something that I talk a
actually
lot in the channel.
control it.
Is focus
Yes.
exactly on
Can you
that.
explain a little bit more about that? Because I think that those topics they intertwine, because when we are thinking about employee mindset, is the mindset that you need to obey someone else's rule without thinking whether that is right or desirable. So those are two things as well.
Yeah, in the channel I explain a lot of stuff. I actually have an introductory course in social psychology where I explain like the basic concepts. And if you see the masks, for example, there are a lot of social psychology factors that come in the mask. You're doing an action that sometimes you don't find justification for it. Some people don't think it's necessary to be, for example, on the sea wearing a mask, and yet they are. So they try to convince themselves that they're doing that because they want, because they don't like the government. No one does. So like, oh, I'm not doing this because the government said that I have to. I'm doing this because I want to, even though they don't believe that. They're just following the rules and they are convincing themselves that they are doing that because they want. And sometimes it is the case, sometimes it's not. And when you do that, you feel you are more prone to obey. When you wear a mask, you don't have your personality, right? In countries that people have struggle with personality issues, like a lot of Asian countries, is where you see that a lot of masks are. People are always wearing that, and it takes out your personality. Is that to say that you don't have to wear ever? No, that's not to say that you don't have to wear, but you have to think about these consequences when you do, and you have to be conscious that of what is the reason. Are you wearing that because you believe it's right to wear, or are you wearing that because the government said and you're obeying, or are you just fooling yourself because you're following a rule that you don't believe and you're trying to trick yourself into thinking that you believe in that? So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying think about the reason why you're doing that. It's okay to follow a rule that you don't believe. If there's a rule, if there's a law that you don't agree with, and you have to follow, it's okay, but you have to recognize that you're doing that against your will. You can't just
Hmm.
fool yourself to thinking that that's the right thing, because otherwise, whatever they decide is going to become into your psychology. You're going to be thinking that that's what you agree with when it's not. And also think like, is this mask taking on my personality? Can I still recognize who I am? Can I still see my friends well? Can I still communicate with everyone wearing this? So these are things that I'm not saying for anyone what to do. I'm just saying think about some consequences about it. Think about what could be. Just don't just do it. Don't just follow the stereotype. It's mandatory, you have to wear. It's mandatory, you have to do it. I'm not saying for no one to not use it. I'm just saying think about what are the implications of doing that to your life. Don't just do as a blind person.
Exactly. And I think that's the same with the job market, because we are taught from since we are kids that we need to go to school, then we can have a job. So that's the same thing. Like, why are you having a job? Is that because you are you are made to believe that that is desirable or that's what you want? Or like, what is the main reason? Because a lot of people, oh, I need to get a job. Oh, I need to get. Why do you need, if there are many multiple ways to make money? Because most people, they want a job to make money, but that's not the only way to make money. So then why is that? It's kind of like that peer pressure, that societal pressure that makes people think that they will have a status, or they will feel more useful or helpful in that way if they have a job. But that's not always the case. Your job might be amazing, you might be able to do great things, but that's not the only way that you can impact on
And you can still be
people's
unhappy with it.
lives. Sorry?
And you can still be unhappy with your job. Even if you have the job of your dreams, if you don't want to, if it's just a job of your dreams because you projected that based on what society or government or whatever wanted you to think, you're not going to be happy from inside. You have to find what you want to do. In the same way that if you weren't born to be an entrepreneur, you're going to be unhappy if you are one. If you want to follow a 9 to 5 schedule, and if you want to have a boss telling you what to do, you're not going to be happy if you have to take your own decisions, if you have to do
Hmm.
things by yourself, if you have to work harder to get things for you. If you just want to work on a salary for someone else, you're not going to be happy doing something else. So, but the problem here is that there is a bias. There's a bias from going to the individual side to the communal side. There is this bias that you always have to work for a company, you have to work for someone, you have to get a title, you have to get something like that. And that's not to say that not everyone likes that. A lot of people do, but some don't, and are doing that because they don't know other options. So what I always say is that you have to find out what you were supposed to make. Like what do you want to do? You know, what is that thing that God said that He wanted you to do? You know, that He made you to do. Is it something that is it what you're doing, or is it something else? And if you can't do what you want to do, at least try. You have to at least recognize what you want to do. Because if you never set up your mind, you're never gonna be able to work towards that. Let's say that you
Exactly.
don't want. Let's say that you realize that you actually want to be an entrepreneur and you want to work online and be part of Lahana's team. Okay, but you have a job and you
Recommendable.
can't do that. But you have a job and you can't do it. You can't just like stop everything. Well, at least recognize that that's what you want to do, and then you can work 1 hour per week, and then you start working 2 hours per week. And then when 5 months are passed, 6 months are passed, and you see that you're starting to make something, you dedicate more time to that. And in 20 years, you're going to be doing what you want, just with a little effort because you recognize what you wanted to do. So
Exactly.
that's the thing. Nothing has to be radical. You don't have to leave everything, but you have to work on what you want to
Yes, and like any on my team, definitely we don't need 20 years for that
do.
for that conversion. It's just a few months, but it's very important to recognize. And I know some people sometimes they cannot change completely because of immigration issues as well. So there are many things that are taken into consideration, but the most important thing is to love whatever it is that you're doing. So for example, I've been thinking and reflecting about that for a while because I wake up every morning and I always feel that I am on vacation. I feel, oh my gosh, I know that I'm working very hard and that I work way more than I used to work in a 9 to 5. I work longer, but it always feels that I am not working, that I am on vacation. It's because I'm doing what I love, and that does not feel that I'm working. Because I remember when I was at a traditional job, I would wake up and like, oh, I gotta go. And then later, oh, finally it's over. Right, so then I realized that that was not what I wanted to, because I didn't feel excited for it, and that drained my energy. And now it's the opposite. I have more energy than ever, and that's why I also decided to go on YouTube and tell more people that that is an option. Because before I had like something closing my mind, I could only see like that. But now I know that the whole road can be mine in a good way, that I can impact a lot of people and way more than I could ever imagine when I was at the work, like a regular job. For example, you work for a company and you only get to know people in that social circle, in that network, or people in that area, like for example, engineering. But here we get to know people that are engineers, doctors, lawyers, politicians, everyone. And you have a huge network, especially working with a company that has business in so many others, like 148 countries. That's so much that you can do for others and that you can impact people around the world. Today, around 8 a.m., I had a call with someone from India. That person later today sent me a message saying, today was one of the most important moments of my life because I talked to you. And what you told me, I think it will change my life forever. And I was like, wow, look at this. I would never meet that person if it wasn't because of the business, if it wasn't because of my mission to find the diamonds. So I'm finding diamonds everywhere, all over the world. And that's exactly the goal, because we can polish people's skills and we can teach people and we can see how great people are in that way. Because sometimes I can see very clearly that someone is great, but they themselves cannot recognize, because nobody pointed a finger and told them, you are a leader. Instead, they just said, you are an employee. You need to do this for me. You need to obey my rules. And that really changes for a lot of people. It really changes the lives of a lot of people once you put them on the spotlight and say, you are the one that will open up the path to others. You are a leader. So you are not like a entry level person that just know how to type on the computer. No, you are someone guiding others. So we bring people to another level of self-development, because it's not only about professionalism, but it's also about self-development. It's about challenging ourselves and growing as we go, and especially growing as a team, everyone together. But you'll find out a lot about yourself when you're doing this. You will find out that you're way more amazing than you ever thought. And Vico knows about how I have changed and how I am so different, because before I was always coming, talking to him like, oh my gosh, I had a very sad day at my work and I cried because of my boss told me something that was quite mean, and that really put myself down and made me feel worthless, because she did not recognize that I have always been a leader. And that's also another issue with companies, because you need to someone to leave a position so you can get promoted. If you are promoted, so you are maybe the most amazing person in that department or in that company, but because you're so young like me, or you're an entry level person, that you cannot take responsibilities that you would actually do way better than your boss. So those are also is another thing to consider as well. And Vico knows how much I have changed and grown as a person too, right, Vico?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Not crying anymore.
No.
The opposite.
Yeah.
Super energetic. So, do you want to give your final thoughts and your final message for the people watching us today?
No, I think that's it. I think you should at least start looking into working with this. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think the last thing that I can say is that this week I'm going to be releasing the English course. And if you guys want to sell the course for me, I have a 50% commission. You get half of the price of the course. So if you want to work with that as well, sell to someone you know, you're going to get some money. I'll ask Lohana to leave my contact, my email, if she can, somewhere here.
Of
And
course.
and that's it. She's going to help me with that as well. I'm sure.
Yes, for sure. We know that in the entrepreneurship world, also collaboration and partnerships are essential for us to grow, because united we are stronger. So it's also
Hmm.
very important to be in networks and knowing more people so we can make more things happen, as Vico said. And I would like to thank everyone for watching us today. Remember to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, and also to check for the notifications, because there will be a lot of new things coming like next. And Vico will be here sometime again, but is speaking in Portuguese on my
Very good.
Tuesday lives. So that will be very exciting as well. And remember to leave your comment. We like to hear your insights and your opinion. And also remember to share this, because we know that a lot of people need to hear this. A lot of people need to open up their mindset to accept new things. That is essential. So please remember to share. This might change someone's lives, like the person that I mentioned here. So that is very important. And I'm again looking for the diamonds. I want the leaders, the global leaders that want to be part of this movement, of this amazing team that we have. And maybe you can be the one to benefit from all the resources that we have to offer for entrepreneurs. And the hashtag for today is hashtag digital entrepreneurship. And I would like to thank you, Vico, for being here with us today. It was great to hear you. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of people will identify with yourself as well.
Thank
And
you.
yes, thank you so much. And Thank you so much, everyone, and we will see you next Thursday at 7 p.m. And as always, keep shining.